So welcome back, folks. We did have that little bit of an extra treat of the game just to get you right into the mood to watch Team Dignitas now up against DeNova. So that is going to be the game to watch right now.
Certainly is. I'm really looking forward to this one, actually. I think our first map will be Himmelsdorf. We just saw EPS get crushed by Dignitas on Himmelsdorf, and that's kind of interesting because at least Dignitas will have the upper hand in terms of they've just played it.
They're warmed up.
Exactly.
They have no excuses here.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. And obviously now DeNova, I'd say, I'd expect more from them than Evil Pandas as such. You know, they're a side that I expect a little bit more from now. Obviously, looking at their previous results under MYM, they've had close games with Team Dignitas in the previous season here. But now going forward, it's a different kettle of fish. We've seen a lot of teams falling off that little high horse they've been on, and some obviously getting up there as well. So it's all to play for right now. Now, I've got to ask you once again, who's your money on this, for this one?
You know, I don't know if I have this much money to give out, to be honest, because every time I do it, I get it wrong. So,
I'll loan you some.
DeNova?
Oh, so you're going for, like, the kind of offset pick now?
I think so, because, as I said before, I don't like betting on the people who just, you know, I always bet on the people who are most likely to win, but DeNova just looks so strong, I just can't help it. It's something telling me. I mean, I'm probably going to get it wrong, and then that's why I shouldn't gamble or even play, like, you know, like poker with some, like, chips or something, you know. Yeah, you know, seriously. But I just got a funny feeling about DeNova, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. You think you're going for Dignitas, right?
I love Team Dignitas. I'm a big fan.
You are, aren't you?
I
proper British Team Dignitas.
You've got to back
even
them.
if they're Ukrainian, Russian.
Doesn't matter. Does not matter to me. British, so you gotta support them, and I do like the way Team Dignitas play. You know, obviously, seeing what they did at the DreamHack finals was more than impressive.
Exactly, it was pretty fantastic. It was incredible play, and if there's a team that can beat the odds, they certainly did it.
Exactly. So. But obviously, as you said, you touched on it before, that now they are on that kind of spotlight point. Everyone's eyes are on them now. They played well in the, obviously in the first season. They went well in the finals. Well is an understatement. They won them.
They won them, yeah.
But it's now all kind of, the pressure's on them.
Certainly is.
So it's a lot of a challenge for these guys, and that's what I want to see. I want to see these guys rise to that occasion. I want to see them do well. I want to see them prove that they deserve that final, so people can kind of eradicate that point of, well, you know, maybe Virtus Pro was just a little bit tired. Maybe that's what got them. Maybe it wasn't just Team Dignitas being brilliant, which they were, but obviously there was no outside factors, and that's what I want to see from Dignitas now, just stamping their authority on the games going forward. Now, obviously they've won against this team almost. I think there has been a slight lineup change, I believe. Or are they exactly the same now?
Well, both teams have had a lineup change. I mean, there's been at least 2 players from each team. Garat was in their lineup from Team Dignitas, but I don't know, he just didn't play at all. I mean, not at all. I didn't see him once. And then DeNova have got a couple. They've got, what's his name? He's Cripple, I think, and The Hive, but he's called differently on the European server. So those 2 are different from DeNova, and they're obviously coming from the Russian server. And obviously, since DeNova is a Russian-speaking team, obviously they don't come from Russia. I think Ostak Ben lives in Germany, is some from Greece. And interestingly enough, I think the most sad point about DeNova is that they don't have Nick Lemos anymore, who's obviously, I mean, you may not know him, but
do inform me on this one.
Yeah, he's basically the beloved T1 uncle of World Tanks Esports. He's always put to the T1, but he's very good at it. He's spectacular at it, I'll say, in a very soft tone.
Bless him.
And I think that's very sad because he's not here, and I think he pushed through and gave a lot of the wins to Meet Your Makers.
So both sides have gained and lost members. They have previous results. So this is going to be a real grudge match between these two, and I think they're just about ready to get into the picking of the tanks here.
Yeah, they are.
So obviously it will be not on Himmelsdorf as we initially thought, so maybe that a little advantage the Team Dignitas may have had has now been removed. So what are the picks we're seeing so far?
Well, we're seeing 2 AMX 5100s from Stork, obviously being from Dignitas, 2 AMX 5100s being from DeNova, so mirror picks at the moment, 2 T1s from each, 2 AMX 5100s from each. So far, nothing unusual. I think we'll be seeing IS3s from now on. Now those 4 picks, those 2 picks, 4 tanks, are the standard ones. You know, everyone. You know, you don't have to like do anything unusual in those first ones. It's just what the teams take. IS3's T69 been taking from Stalker. He's opting for probably the most standard lineup you can take. T69 mainstay pretty much on Ensk these days, even on Himmelsdorf. I'd be interested to see if teams shy away a little bit from the T69. Now the AMX 5100 has, and the IS3 even more actually, has increased in accuracy that it's so reliable. Oh, it's so much more reliable, I should say. But just waiting for DeNova to pick. IS3 T69, they do indeed take. So far, mirrored.
Yeah, very standard picks. Yeah, as you said, this is one of the maps that will kind of always have that kind of standardization to it as well. So it's nice to see them kind of sticking very much to their guns. Obviously, this is an important game for them because they don't want to try anything new. They don't want to kind of pull out a curveball or anything. Because they want to, back to basics. Let's play exactly, the game we know how to. They don't want to risk anything here because obviously, sometimes now and then taking a risk is fantastic, and it may pay off. But that one map you lose can cost you everything. And obviously, with the previous track record between these two the way it is, they don't really want to be risking anything right now. So we're just going to have to see, it's going to come down to purely player skill, which is what I like to see. Yeah,
I think I always say mirror lineups are the most, well, just as I said that, Ronnie taking the 110, the Chinese tier 8 heavy tank. So, yeah. I think we saw them take it last, actually. The last match day they took it. Actually working out really well for them against Spale, where they beat them 3-0, no problems at all. The last map being Prokhorovka. But Ensk was their first map. DeNova surrounded them, they crushed them. 110 did fantastic damage, so good pick from DeNova.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if that, not necessarily gamble, pays off, but that slight deviation. And we are nearly moments away from this getting underway. Now, we have already had that early taste of what Team Dignitas can do, and now with the picks in hand, the map choice in hand, we're just going to have to see if they can really bring it in the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely what we're going to have to see. But we are about to go in game, 5 seconds left. This will be our first map, Team Dignitas versus DeNova x MYM on Ensk. So here we go, Team Dignitas versus DeNova, your first season winners against your, I think they finished about 8th place after Evil Panda Squad in Season 1, DeNova, but looking very strong. And as I said, my money's on DeNova. You're going for Team Dignitas because you like the odds, but we'll see who wins. If you win another one, I don't know, I might as well quit my job because I've got none of them right at all. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'd hate to take that away from you. The early spots have been coming out. I think they've just spotted one of the DeNova players straight down by the flag there, that 5100, just kind of being caught a glimpse of. And we can see Team Dignitas not going overly aggressive here right now. You've got the IS3, the T69, all the way down that 5 and 6 line. Not making too much of an issue, but they have managed to spot a good couple of the opposition here. So already laying down shells towards Ostap Bender, who's been taken down to only 1,071 HP right now. So Shanish and Dream doing the work early on.
Yeah, but at the same time, Shanish just take a big shot from Ostap Ben as well. Arclit's in the background. Ostap Ben shooting another shell off. Dream just took a big shot there. 313 coming out. I believe that was probably from Delgado. Delgado opting for the higher damage 390 as opposed to the smaller, I think it's about 100mm gun you can go for on that 110. But, I always say about DeNova, they're a team that beat the Giants, but struggle against the Davids. So, I think they have a good chance here, but against the smaller teams, they definitely struggle.
Yeah, and Applewell did manage to take down that T1 that was making its way up that 0 line, right on that far right of the map. They split off very early on to make sure they couldn't be flanked, and it's paid off. So picking up the early advantage, but as you said, the damage was very evenly exchanged. So only losing a T1 so far, it's not much of an advantage, but it's certainly something they want to keep doing, keep working away at it. And while Dignitas look like they're in quite a comfortable position here, the shells are being laid down, and great connection straight down that 3 line there, taking down positive to only 675 HP. And that's what they want to keep doing, keep working away, keep picking away, and doing just enough damage and getting out of there.
Yeah, DeNova definitely don't have the HP advantage now. As you can see, Arclit's only on 1,500, so he hasn't taken any damage, but Shanish is down to 117. Dream down to 1,063, and I think Povil took some T1 shots as well.
Yeah, very much so. So it's just that T69 and the presence here, just keeping eyes on.
You can see the damage DeNova has taken so far. Positive down to 675. Ostapbender also down to 1071 in that IS3. So they've definitely taken the more damage, but it's not quite as wide. You know, it's not quite spread out throughout the team.
Exactly. So we're going to be seeing Dream backing off here for Team Dignitas, not playing so aggressively at the moment. Just going to reposition a touch. He was pushed up on that 3 line, keeping eyes nice and close to that kind of choke point, that cross point that you may see an aggressive push down. Just going to keep his eyes now down that 5 line, because they have spotted a couple of players, but obviously not taking pot shots. They don't want to just rush this. It's a slow and a cautious game sometimes, and it has to be played out that way. Yeah,
that was a good spot there from Dignitas. Onto those 2 tanks, because that was, I think that was one of their moves DeNova wanted to do, and now they're spotted. It's going to be a lot harder for them to pull it off, because obviously now Dignitas know where it is. But saying that, YR spotted straight onto Applewell, connecting the first shell, but for no damage actually. It will just be up to him to make the 2nd and 3rd shell count. But the T69 is not the easiest tank to connect the shells with, because the shells do travel fairly slowly. But he's in a dodgy position there.
Yeah, and Applewell looks a little bit uncomfortable as well. He's trying to get himself covered off it, so he's not going to receive any more of those rather stray shells as such. It did manage to almost connect before, so he's just going to reposition himself. They get a little bit further back from being pushed up with that T1. And they have been catching glimpses of the opposition, but it looks very defensive from what Team Dignitas are seeing here. So you can see them just kind of mirroring that. They're not being too aggressive. They're falling back fairly far to the flag. The AMX 5100 is also joining Applewell right now.
Yeah, Ostapbender just did the good shell there, connecting about 360 damage onto Shanish, so he definitely came out the victor there. And I always said this about the IS3 in this position: it's better than the T69 because, well, you can just bounce a lot of shells from its side. But you know, he did just take another one unnecessarily there on his IS3. He's down to 525 now. So he definitely shouldn't have gone back out. I'm not sure why he would risk. Once he had the advantage.
Yeah, indeed. And Shanish there literally backed up, allowed those AMX 5100s to kind of suppress fire almost straight down the middle of the map, because obviously that early exchange really didn't help out, and the HP's worked away from Shanish already, as you said, 525 even. It's not ideal to be sitting on in such a pushed up place right now. He's still happy being around that marker, but obviously those AMX 5100s being played almost like a linebacker right now, just to keep in that final line for these guys. And I'm very surprised how Dignitas are playing this quite passively at the moment.
Yeah, they definitely have the HP advantage, and you say they have the tanks to take the damage. Arclit making a shell, but not connecting it quite. Delgado going back for his response onto Arclit. Arclit not so unwise. He did connect it actually, but unbelievable. Delgado got set on fire. I mean, taking 400 damage and then losing another 400 because fire, it's tragic, really. We always say, I mean, take your fire extinguisher, man. Come on.
Yeah, indeed. I think that is just literally proven that point pretty darn well, as Arclit's perfect positioning there has just paid off thoroughly. In that IS3, he's loving what you can do in this. You put it up right, you're going to pretty much, you know, be almost golden there, and that's pretty much what happened. So Dignitas once again retaining the exact positions almost. The MX 5100s have made their way back around to where they almost were originally, around that 3 and 4 line marker, and they're looking like they want to kind of consolidate what they've been doing so far.
Yeah, well, DeNova have started to push forwards actually. Most of their tanks going up towards the middle green area, but I'm not sure what this is for a movement because they don't have the HP advantage. I still think they have the firepower advantage with that 110, but Ostapbender won't be able to join the party, and I think Team Dignitas will have no problems at all dispatching a possible push onto their cap from DeNova.
Well, you say that. Only Applewell is now left in more of a defensive position here. As you can see, 2, maybe 3 of the opposition making their way up, as you said, across that green area. He's already split the T1, the MX-5100, who are edging closer and closer. He's had to back away now. The T69 of his own team is now having to come back as well. So that initial bit of aggressiveness has now been left just with the IS-3 for Team Dignitas to make their way forward, as that little bit of retaliation is coming through.
Yeah, for sure. But at the moment, DeNova have to be careful. They're pushing forwards, they're pushing backwards, and I think it was more of a false move. They pushed forwards, put a little bit of pressure onto Team Dignitas. Team Dignitas maybe reacted a little bit, and then now they've pushed back. And all they've done there is waste about 1.5 minutes, which gives them only about 2 minutes and 30 seconds to waste until the end of this battle. And I think that's what they'll be doing, because they know for sure that they can't win based on the HP they have.
Beautiful connection coming in from Arclit there, landing that shell nicely just beyond himself as he saw that AMX-50 making his way back after that fake push that you almost pointed out there, and now they're going to be in trouble. Yeah,
they're going to get pincered here, DeNova. They've got a couple of tanks up north, Team Dignitas have, and a couple of tanks south. So once their engagement goes down, but there we go, Stalker getting taken out by the AMX-50-100, I think of the Hive, one of their new players. But pretty interesting how Team Dignitas are playing a little bit cautiously, actually.
Yeah, I was waiting for Shannon to land that shell. He'd already spotted that T1 down all the way on that 0-9 line there, and they've made their way pushing around the back. As you said, they may get pincered, and that's what I was waiting for Shannon to actually do the damage, and thank God he did, because, well, Dignitas aren't looking too great right now.
No, they lost their team captain, their scout, their main man, and I think that's going to be hard, because he will be needed to cap if Team Dignitas want to push. But I think Team Dignitas are a little bit more wise, a little bit more cautious with the experience they have. Delgado going down to 430, and I think if there is any push from Team Dignitas, he will be their target, because he will be so easy to take out. Arclit back down to 101. Ostapbender making an excellent shot, and now the push from Dignitas comes in.
Yeah, indeed. They're making the move right now. Arclit is the one to get the first down to Ostapbender. Quick reply comes in, though. DeNova are not going down without a fight at the moment, and you can see the shells are raining in left, right, and center. Dignitas have to make these count. You see Popple, Dream, and Arclit now making the work happen. Applewell joins in with his AMX-50-100, taking down Delgado. Applewell follows up with a second. This is looking very good, and this is putting all of the pressure onto DeNova, and I don't think they have a hope in hell right now.
No, they certainly do not, and that means the first game will go to Dignitas, and I think the HP advantage they had from the beginning, the early movements, the early spots they did, was just too much. As you saw then, the two tanks DeNova had in a position, the 110 and the MX-5100, they were down to such low HP, they had no chance at all. Shanish managed to get out there in his T69, so HP is so important in this game.
It's unbelievable, and I love the way Dignitas played them. They were so responsive. Any move that was made towards them from DeNova, they handled it and they countered it, and that's what I loved seeing, and it just paid off perfectly. I was getting a little bit worried for my guys. I've kind of got a little bit of support for them now. I was a little bit worried towards the point, you know, they did lose a lot of HP during that, and somehow they retained enough of their members within the team and enough HP, enough positional advantage to pull it off at the end. But what went wrong for DeNova there? Looking at it from their point of view, they didn't do too badly initially, so what happened?
I think it's just HP at the end of the day. They didn't manage to get into a position where they could get the shells off against Team Dignitas. Team Dignitas had the North spawn, so they could get the hull down position for that IS-3. The IS-3 did the damage, and we saw Delgado get hit by a big 400 damage shell in this 110, and then get set on fire for another 400 damage. So I think at the end of the day, when it came to the push, Dignitas just had to do it cleverly. They had to take their time. They had to be responsive, as you said. But at the end of the day, you need the HP. You need that brunt to take it, and they just didn't have it.
Yep, but they're not wasting any time here. They're going to go straight for those tank picks, I do believe. And we're going to see a different map. Finally, I get to see Abby again. We saw the moment happen.
Yeah,
before.
we did see the moment.
The moment. So it's going to be interesting to see this one played out, hopefully without any sort of mishaps happening for either of these sides. What sort of choices are we seeing so far? Has anything stood out to you, or is this once again very typical of these two?
It's not entirely typical, because usually you don't see the teams picking quite so many AMX-3090s and T69s from the get-go. Usually you see like a T71 in there or something, but teams opting for pretty standard tanks, AMX-3090 ×2 and a T69 from DeNova. Stalker actually picking the T69 AMX-3090 again. He's got a couple of those actually, and a T1 in there as well. DeNova again going for the, as we were just talking about, the T71. T2 Lite quite interestingly as well. Obviously, since it's a tier 7, you have that option of taking the T2 because it's not a T1, so you get the extra point. But so far, so good and pretty standard.
Indeed, and we saw a lot of the T69 play being so pivotal on this map last time we saw this, before someone rolled off a cliff, obviously.
Yeah.
So I want to see it almost again now. I've been getting such a high standard of play coming out early on. I'm already like, oh, that should be standardized. That's fine, right? I expect this in every map. And obviously every match won't be able to kind of mirror that. But I think with the caliber of these two, I'm going to see something good coming out of these. We already saw some fantastic play coming out from, the likes of Arclit and Shanish. Between those two, they literally work perfectly hand in hand. Applewell coming with a good couple of shots off as well, taking down a lot of the opposition. And I want to see more of that. I love the way Team Dignitas just work as a unit, if I'm honest. And it showed in that last map. I want to see how they do on this one, because I look at Abby and it feels very separated to me. It feels like, you're not necessarily in such close quarters with, your own teammates. Is that ever an issue? Is it something that just good team play will always overlook and it will always overcome if, if you worked well as a unit? It doesn't matter if, if you're 10 foot away or, 50 foot away. Is it one of those, or?
Oh, I honestly think this is one of the most defining maps in that respect. I mean, there was a point in World of Tanks competitive history where everyone was separated in the team. So you put one tank there, one tank there. You put tanks all over the place, and you kind of converge them at the end. A little bit like we see today, but a lot less coordinated. And Abbey was really that map which forced every team to say, okay, if we want to take out another set of tanks, we have to have the more firepower. So let's just push all of our tanks against them and hope we win the firefight in that respect. And that's one of the key pivotal moments in competitive history. Obviously, it doesn't happen quite as extreme as it did then. It was like you take like 5 T-32s and we'll just push them along the trench road in Abbey against whatever and see what happened. Now, you put like 3 MX 3090s along the road and you send tanks here above, but you're still pushing them together in a manner of speaking. So I think it's really important, yeah.
So looking at the pick so far, looking at Arclit, he does have that T2 light, as you mentioned. Now, obviously, that's a little bit different to the IS-3, looking, the way you play those two. How is he going to play this one out? I'm trying to envision how, he can embody what he did in the previous map onto this, or is he just going to play it completely differently? Is that the diversity that you can expect from Team Dignitas, or is there a very set kind of role within these teams normally?
Well, the interesting thing about Team Dignitas, the interesting thing is actually that these players have not just been set in stone. The previous teams, Arclit was playing artillery, Dream was playing it, he was always actually playing M1390, but Garat was the heavy tank player. So here we go on Abbey. So that very emotional music bringing us into this game, but it's not going to be emotional, it's going to be clinical as it's DeNova versus Team Dignitas.
Wow, is all I'm going to say to that. Absolutely wow. Let's see exactly what Dignitas can do off the kind of go markers here. Let's see what they're going to do in this one. We've already seen a good couple of teams already on this map, so I've kind of got in mind what your more typical strategies are going to be. We do see Pavel and obviously Garrett joined with Shanish there, just making their way straight down. They're not holding back at all. That T71 is leading the way. The AMX 1390s are splitting off. And let's see how they're just going to position themselves up here on Abbey. Not going too aggressive, not actually managed to spot anyone yet as well. So it's not, a blistering start, but there we go. Finally, they have caught a glimpse of that T2 light there. I think that is Ron actually making his way down, so he could be in trouble if he doesn't play this one carefully.
Ronnie is going to get taken out. Yeah, we go. One little mistake, as you saw, he got clipped by this edge of the wall, which is obviously the strongest part of the wall, which didn't let him get up there. So he would have been like, well, oh, God damn it. I mean, just a little mistake like that, and I'm completely blown away. But now Team Dignitas know that the other team knows where the MX-1390 is, so you're seeing a pretty strong push from DeNova up the mountainside, actually. The guard are staying back a bit, spotting out onto one of the Pavel, one of the Team Dignitas players, playing that T-71. But it does look like the Hive in his T-71 has taken at least one shot from that opposition T-71. Yeah,
indeed. It is Pavel and Garrett who are keeping eyes on the player. They just caught a glimpse of right in that Abbey there. So they're trying to be cautious and obviously not kind of extend themselves too far, but Pavel was not cautious enough. He did just receive a shell from just to the right of him, so he's kind of curious exactly where he received that from, because you can see Shanish is trying to cover that off as well. And it's a little bit of a tentative situation here, because they look like they're kind of a little bit worried about the positioning.
Yeah, that was a good shot from YR onto the T71 there, Pavel. Definitely a good move from him. It would have been hard before the patch for sure. Ostapenda pushing up into the city area. He wants to be getting an angle onto Team Dignitas. He doesn't want to get into a situation where that T71 gets pushed and potentially crushed. We always say that T71 is actually a really key tank. I mean, it's 7 tier points that you can lose it, but now they've lost Ron. If they lose that T71, that's 9 points, and that's a win for Dignitas.
Now these guys are starting to back up. You can see the AMX 1390s for Team Dignitas making their way back. As now Pavel has caught another glimpse of that player just dancing around in that Abbey with the opposing T71. So these two could have an interesting exchange if this goes down, but I think they want to reposition because this is exactly where Pavel got caught off guard before and received a shell to the side. And I'm curious exactly what those AMX 1390s are doing towards the flag. They flagged all the way around from that zero line, came all the way across, and I can see exactly what they're up to now. They have spotted a 1390 just on that left side of the map here, and they're just trying to be careful, trying to play this one correctly.
Yeah, YR knew exactly what was happening. He got out there very quickly indeed. He saw Applewell push along with the AMX 1390, and he thought, well, I'm not going to be there for any of the fireworks. And that's why he's regrouped with his main man, Delgado, in that T69. As it does look that T71 of the Hive just took another shot. But Shanish also taking one, and his engine going down, in fact, and another one going on to Shanish.
Yeah, indeed. Pavel did catch a glimpse of that T71 that's been dancing around in that Abbey. Shanish actually pushed up to take the shot, but also exposed himself, so he's having to back away. He's already knocked down to 787 HP at the moment, so he's got to be careful. He can't be overly zealous about this, because they're being worked down right now, and it's a tentative situation all over.
Yeah, that's for sure. And another spot going on to Pavel. Pavel did actually just take one down to 613, but Hive is going to be very careful how he plays it, because only 2 shots will need to be taken for him to go down. But now, both teams very similar. I mean, there's nothing to split them. As Dream just took another shot actually from, I believe, Delgado on that thing. Yes, it was down to 635. That must have been 2 shots. The Hive actually getting involved. YR getting involved at MX 1390, trying to connect to Shell and Applewell. Didn't have the gun depression to do that.
Yeah, indeed. And you can see Team Dignitas are now worried about this. You can see the likes are now backing up, trying to find another way around this. You can see that Garrett, you can see Shanish is backed up. They're trying to help out Dream, who's cowering now at the moment. He's not doing too good. You've already seen him knocked down to 635 HP. So
yeah, but...
oh, God, they are in trouble. You can see the push coming out. That T69 and the 39 have been spotted. I want to see what Dignitas can do here.
Dignitas retreating a little bit. Applewell was in good position to deal with YR, dropping off the hill using the relatively new physics engine to his advantage. Definitely well thought out by him. But YR also connected a couple of shells, not onto Applewell, but onto the tanks in the middle. So not such a bad move from him at all, as Ostapenda maneuvers. He wants to be able to take down Dream. I don't know if that's the case, but here we see Positive pushing up as well, and it's a push from DeNova.
Oh, and Dream is being literally surrounded by the opposition, and that is far from a dream. Has been absolutely demolished by Ostapenda and co, who've literally just taken him out categorically, clinically, and having to leave the Dignitas side to pick up the pieces right now.
Indeed, indeed. UIR taking out Gerat straight there. MX 5100 going down. His French tank not living up to standard. And it's Pavel versus Hive, I believe it is. And Pavel not coming out the best, even though he had the HP advantage. YR taking out Applewell. Pavel's on 31 HP. But now it's just bad for Pavel, and it's bad for Dignitas.
Yeah, indeed. Pavel is not in a great position. He's going to have to depend on help from others right now. As you can see them merely steps away from each other, merely seconds away. Pavel only on 31, and there we go. Finally, Arklit chimes in with a little bit of help there, taking down that member who's been so... He's been a thorn in the side of Team Dignitas at the moment. So finally got a little bit of a breather, but not for long.
Yeah, it looks like Delgado's pushing forwards onto Shanish, connecting shells. Delgado's got the HP advantage. One more shot onto Shanish will do it, but he doesn't have reload, so he's got to get out of there. And now DeNova have the HP advantage, doing pretty good damage, but that, as you said, the T71 player in the middle was not good enough as Arklit tries to cap, actually.
Indeed, Shanish is now in trouble, just trying to get away from the DeNova side, as Pavel has to do the work, but Ostapenda did find that member of Team Dignitas, and there goes the seconds. Now only Arklit is left standing, the man who did the work early on. He's going to have to go hunting. He's going to have to pull out a bit of a miracle here if he fancies doing anything.
Yeah, great push from DeNova. But yeah, this is Arclit versus Cripple. Cripple coming out better. Cripple taking the win for DeNova. 1 game each.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, that is not what I expected to happen. I was a little bit worried for Team Dignitas there, to be fair. They had a little bit of a shaky start as such. You know, they got good positions, they had an early exchange, no one got too badly damaged, but they always felt like they were at a disadvantage through that. They always felt like the positioning wasn't good enough. How the hell did DeNova do that?
I just think that they took their time with it. I mean, Povl played really well in his 2-1 at the beginning, but Hive kind of got the better of him once the whole switch-up happened, which is where it matters. DeNova, they took the shots they needed to take, they reversed, so they didn't take any damage, so you didn't have that exchange and that possible bad exchange, especially with how many random factors there are in terms of damage in this game and penetration, also that kind of thing. And I think DeNova, at the end of the day, they got the push right. Yeah, you saw Dignitas struggle like hell once DeNova had the advantage. I mean, they were just did so much damage to DeNova, and that's why they're such a good team. Even when they're on the back foot, they still go forwards and try to win. But at the end of the day, DeNova had the HP, they had the positions, and it was perfect. It was great play from them.
It really was. It was unbelievable, to be fair. Watching that, it was highly impressive. I think we are almost getting ready to do the tank picking as well, so hopefully we can go and look into that one right now. Let's have a little look here. I think they are actually starting to do the tank picking, and it's going to be Himmelsdorf, the map that we discussed earlier on, that we already had our opinions on before. So now, in theory, our initial thoughts were Dignitas were warmed up on this. They already played it once. They played it well. It paid off. There was a little bit of a awkward moment with Povl there at some point. He had a bit of a little bit shaky exchange.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they did pick it up. So in theory, they should do this one. But looking at DeNova in that last map, I don't know what to say anymore. These guys, you can't even depend on them stat-wise. It's, you look at it on paper, you go, well, these guys should win it. So, that's fine. But then they pull something out completely irrelevant from the bag. But so far, if we're going by previous results, the ex-MYM side should always pick up one map and then lose another. This is, by the standardized kind of results they've had before against Team Dignitas, this is the route it should take. But whether it does, who knows? Indeed,
and you have to remember as well that actually it could be a double situation because DeNova got to watch Team Dignitas play on Himmelsdorf. So they could find the tactics of Team Dignitas, they find the positions of Team Dignitas, and they could use that to their advantage. And they just played on Ensk, which was a similar city map to Himmelsdorf in some respects. There's big buildings and stuff around. And obviously Dignitas came out on top there. So a couple of things to think about as we head in on this map. But we're just waiting for a minute. Stalker's picked out 2 T1s. It's his initial pick. But DeNova asking for a minute as they deliberate. They don't want to get it wrong here.
Oh, exactly. The wrong choice, the wrong pick, the wrong strategy if they go with it. It can cost them everything here. They can break the trend. They can break the curse of playing against, Team Dignitas in this game, this map, this moment right now. If they get it right, if they play it right, if they played it like the last map, then
exactly.
This could be the changing point. This could be that little pivoting point where they go, okay, this is what we're going to get them on. They probably, I would assume these guys have played this map before. I'd assume they know what Dignitas are like on here. They may not know the exact strats, they may not know the exact tank picks, but they're normally quite standardized. So you'd hope these guys know what they're in for. So maybe we can see another Abby almost applied here. That's what I want to see. And do you think DeNova can do it? Do you think they can dig deep enough to pull this one out now?
It's going to be tricky. I mean, DeNova have been so experienced on Abby. I mean, Abby on Himmelsdorf. Also, Abby, one of the better teams than Abby, that's for sure, as we just saw. But DeNova, they played against the Rush, the Red Rush back in the day on Himmelsdorf when they just started playing as a team. Obviously, it's not quite the same composition, but they've still got a few players. Off Statbender comes to mind. YR, the King Captain, comes to mind. Ronnie as well in that T1 comes to mind. So they have really good grounding on Himmelsdorf. It was kind of their map, which they needed to improve on to get to the next stages of Go for What. But we have started to see picks coming out from both teams, actually. DeNova picking 5100 T1 to start off with. Obviously, Stalker Dignitas has picked 2 T1s, so he's not going for those. IS3 T69 coming from him, and it's now DeNova's choice. But, as we always say, it's going to be pretty standardized. It's going to be 5100 IS3s, the T69s, obviously there's 2 T1s being used. for the hill spots, and as we saw in the previous match, for your one-line spot as well.
The thing I like about the standardized maps, where you get the the typical tanks, you see a lot of the team skill showing. You know, a lot of people maybe depending on maybe like a cheese strat where they pull out something completely mad, and it doesn't display exactly what you're in for. So hopefully on this they do go for those typical picks, and you see it come to literal player-on-player skill, team-on-team skill, positioning skill. You know what I mean? It's all about that, and I love seeing that. The purest that this game can get is when you see a player up against a player, and it just goes whichever way deserves it. Which it's the best thing about this. So we do see a couple more picks coming out.
Yeah, these teams are wasting no time. 5100 IS3 being picked from DeNova. Stalker actually picking 2 AMX 5100s. I think he's actually picked, he's picked 2 and they just picked a third. So that's 3 AMX 5100s. DeNova picking the T1, IS3 and T69. So that will be both teams ready. Both teams picked all 7 tanks. So we've got 3 AMX 5100s, 1 IS3 and 1 T69. Obviously there's 2 T1s as well being picked from Dignitas. Well, DeNova responded with slightly less AMX 5100s, picking a more standard 2. An a double IS2, IS3 even, and double T1 as well as a T69. So pretty standard apart from those AMX 5100 differences.
Yeah, we're going to see if the team can obviously keep them in mind and play with that, obviously, as, the defining point, maybe. But we'll have to find out to see if that's really the thing that's going to make all the odds. But I don't think it will. I think it will literally come down to, which team really wants this. And I know I'm spoiling Dignitas, but I almost hope that DeNova somehow dig deep enough to pull it out here on this map in Himmelsdorf.
Yeah, so here we go. DeNova versus Dignitas. Map 3, 1 game apiece, Abby, just being the previous map where DeNova spectacularly beat Dignitas, but quite a convincing game from Dignitas before on Ensk, where they just won by HP advantage and pushed well onto DeNova. And we go onto another city map, actually. Delgado in that T69 pushing up the hill, as you often see. I'm not sure if he's, he's got... no, he's not. He's got no T1 support at all, quite interestingly. DeNova just took a shot, actually, from Shanish from the straight. Road, positive, going down to 1-1-5-9. He was in a hold-down position, so Shanish had the advantage.
Yeah, indeed. And there's a bit of an aggressive bit of play coming out from the IS3 from the Team Dignitas side. Arctic there has pushed up beyond the normal line I've seen played with these IS3s, especially down this street. He's already caught a glimpse of Winnie the Pooh, who's just merely centimeters away at this moment. So he's going to have to try and play this one carefully. He doesn't want to give anything away. Obviously, losing that HP early on has been such an issue with Team Dignitas, especially in that last map. It's not what they want to be doing here. So going to be careful, going to be cautious, or at least I hope they are. So obviously you do see the T1s more positioned to that 0 line, as you casually expect to see, trying to keep eyes on things, trying to keep a general pick, keep the view across. MX50 more towards the 6 and the 5 line. And the T69 now joining up on that 0 marker, so maybe focusing more of the forces towards that hilled side and maybe, do something with that.
Yeah. If I was DeNova, I'd be thinking, well, if they're going to put Arclit so far up, then they must be ready to defend on this side here. Because if DeNova get there, they can get shots onto the side of Arclit. So they must get this place defended. DeNova must think that Dignitas have some tanks around this area. Obviously, the middle position is very key as well. T69, you can see, is still around that area. Shanish connecting his first shell onto positive at the beginning. Winnie the Pooh just coming off worse, actually, against Arclit. Obviously, Winnie the Pooh doesn't have the advantage of being held down, but Arclit just took a big shell. 4-1-4 going on to him. So advantage to Winnie the Pooh straight here.
Yeah, indeed. And Arclit is not backing off. He's still standing in this position. He wants to hold this. And it's a bit of a challenge. As you said, he's already at a disadvantage here. He's been knocked off that ideal amount of HP, and he's actually less than Winnie the Pooh. So you can see this exchange is not going exactly the way I could imagine he'd want it to right now. T1 has caught a glimpse of a player just to the following 0 line, just to the right here. T69's being called into action. That is Shanish there, down on that 0 line as well. So they're looking to make this count now. And now, well, he's caught him with another shell. So it's a back and forth, these two. They're battling away. WoT is only on 7-2-8 at the moment. So it's literally like, you know, the heavyweights boxing it out at the moment. And, well, Arklet looks like he's raring to go. Yeah,
Arklet's in the better position. That's the thing. That's why he did go so far forwards. But Winnie the Pooh does have the advantage of being able to take the next shot, the next dice, the next chess move, I should say. But now Delgado also took a shot from the top area, and he will be able to try and connect some shells onto Arklet. He pushes forwards. Actually, will Arklet manage to get damage? Yeah, he does, but does come Winnie the Pooh, and now Arklet is in danger.
Yeah, he's going to have to get the hell out of this situation. He's backing up as best he can, gets away just with 191 HP left, having to reposition and hope that he doesn't get caught off here. But you can see that the fire is coming in left, right, and center. Ostap Bender actually landed that shot and damaged his left track already. So he is desperately in trouble, and I think you've just been confirmed exactly as to why.
Yeah, now this is a push from DeNova, actually. Applewell's there on 145. Delgado just took a big shot there, 260 coming off his HP pool, as now we see Cripple and Ronnie push forwards. Ronnie will be trying to take out Gerrat. Will he? Yes, he will. No, he won't. 29 left onto Gerrat. Ronnie, will he push forwards? No, he will wait for his friend Cripple, and they will be able to connect the shells and take him down.
Yeah, 6 HP, clearly not enough to even think about challenging Nova right now. It's mounting up. The pressure is literally just steeping onto the Team Dignitas side right now. They're trying to lock down the banana area. You can see the MX-5100s laying down the suppressing fire as much as possible. Getting those shells to connect is so important. Winnie the Pooh was damaged heavily. Shanish will manage to land that shell onto him, so it's a little bit of pressure taken off, but not much. You can still see Applewell is having to be careful with here and having to do the work.
Yeah, unfortunately, DeNova couldn't quite get what they wanted to. They got the advantage at the beginning of being able to take Arklet low, but they didn't position that well. Dignitas reacted perfectly. They got themselves in a position where they could do the damage, but Applewell's going low down to 380. Delgado missing his next shell. Dream will be in trouble now.
Yeah, indeed. Dream repositioned to try and take on anyone who's pushing down, but now they're literally both in such a back and forth position. The enemy base is being captured for Dignitas. They've got to keep their eyes on this one because Applewell, Dream, and Povell all stacking up here right on that 7-8 line and trying to find a way to get back into this, because this could be the change of events. Great shell connection coming out from Applewell there. Does manage to get a little bit of shot onto positive. I do believe he was just having to back off away. It's literally back and forth. Whoever makes the push gets the damage and then has to back away. No team is truly in the true advantage here, but you've got to see how this one goes out now.
Yeah, well, Cripple's decided to start capping. Good move from him. Delgado goes low. Shanish on 334. Dream coming around the corner. Povell connecting onto positive. Povell on full HP. And I think now it's all over for DeNova. They just couldn't quite get themselves into a position where they could win. I mean, they took down Arklet to about 34 HP. But they just didn't do anything after that. They just kind of arbitrarily pushed, and it just didn't do anything. And Dignitas, the responsive enough, as you've been talking, how responsive they are to deal with the situation.
Indeed, and I just watched that slip through the hands of the DeNova side. They had such an advantage there. They truly had Dignitas on the back foot. Applewell secures that one and gets the last remaining player. But that literally was, I felt that was DeNova's game to have then. That was their map to change the tides of the way this always goes. They've seen this game time and time again. They pick up that one map and they lose another, and it's heartbreaking to see it coming down to that on, you know, especially this map when they just started so well. The early exchanges worked in their favor, and then they just couldn't capitalize. What the hell happened there?
I think we saw Arklet go down to about 173 HP, which was a good move from. It was a good move that they took the T69, but then they kind of thought, okay, Arklet's low, let's just push into the city, which was a good move. It was okay. I mean, the problem was the execution. They lacked an execution.
Yeah.
I think what would have been the better idea is they just thought, okay, Arklet's low, that's fair enough. Let's just get our tanks back, let's reset the fight a bit, because we know Shanish, who ended up doing 2.7k damage in his T69, will come off the hill and he'll pummel us from behind.
Right.
And that's what they did. That's exactly what happened. He came from behind, he did the damage, and that's why we saw so many of the DeNova squad going so low, and that just gave them, Dignitas, all the opportunity that they needed to finish the rest of the DeNova off. And I think it's about resetting that fight once you have the advantage.
I'm seriously heartbroken. I know I'm behind Team Dignitas. Personally, I'd like to see them do well here. I want to see them retain that strength. But it's so hard to see a team get so close there.
It's the underdog thing, isn't it?
It is. You've got to love an underdog. And these guys, you know, I wanted them to do well. I wanted them to prove that they could challenge Team Dignitas and stop the trend of the events. Obviously, there's still a chance, but it's
waning for sure. Yeah.
Exactly. It is slipping away from them, and it is upsetting to see. We are just going to wait for these guys to get themselves ready now. There will be another map coming up in just a second. So they are just going to say one moment. So while they do that, looking mentally now at DeNova's side, how do they get themselves back into this? Just, you know, as a team, as a collective, how do you pick yourselves up from a game like that where you had it on a plate and you somehow spilt it all over the floor? How the hell do you come back mentally from it?
Well, it's a really tricky question. I think it depends entirely upon A, most importantly, the team captain, and B, just the other 6 players in your team. I think it's just a character trait thing. Honestly, for their team, they never seem to be a team that's affected that much by losses like that. They're a team, as we just saw, that loses quite a lot because of just poor decision making. Like they get the first move right, and then all the other moves are pretty poor. They seem to lack, not in ideas, but in execution, as I said before. But you know, I think they'll be all right. I think they'll pick themselves up here, and they'll pick up a win. On our next map, which will be Prokhorovka, and tank picks have started. AMX 1390s all round, actually. Stalker picking 2, DeNova picking 2, T2 Light, T1 coming out from DeNova, so that's 2 AMX 1390s, a T2 Light, and a T1 from DeNova. Well, Dignitas have gone for the T69, T1, double AMX 1390 combo, and now we just wait for DeNova for the next pick. I think it's going to be T69.
Yeah, indeed. This is a typical pick for these two, really, isn't it? There's nothing special coming out here.
Not at all.
I think the DeNova, you know, obviously might be I wouldn't say affected. I think affected is the wrong word, but I think they're going to have to go back to, you know, back to the basics and just try and play this one out and not make necessarily the mistakes that they were in that previous game after taking such an advantage, and just keep trying to play out as best they can in the moment. And I don't know. I feel bad for them now. I hope that they can kind of bring something out here. I want to see something a little bit special.
Wow. Well, as you say that, literally the millisecond you said that, Lorraine 15551 comes out. So we saw the M44 being taken last game. I think it was by DeNova as well, opting for the Tier 8 actually this time round. So, wow. I mean, I was just about to make the point that DeNova, formerly NYM, never were the artillery team. They had Winnie the Pooh who did like really good shots back in Katowice, but I never really thought, okay, they've got a standout player. I mean, we talk about our Eurofishes and our Dr. Toys and such, but we never really talk about DeNova. So strange that they've picked not the 15551, but they picked the 15550, which is Tier 7 this time, but still pretty deadly in the right hands, and it will be in the right hands. Winnie the Pooh opting for that tank.
So now we might get to see how viable the artillery is, especially on a map like this. Obviously, it will allow for it to be played, but then they need to keep in mind that patch change and all the changes that can cause. So obviously, this is a gutsy move from DeNova, to be fair. I thought they'd go, you know, back to the basics, play it out as best they can, you know, tank on tank, player on player, but they've gone for a little bit of a curveball here. Yeah,
it's a rather odd pick, I think. Interesting enough, I mean, we saw the American being taken last Monday even. So they've gone for the French this time round. So yeah, it's quite interesting how they've obviously been practicing a little bit and thought, okay, it's not living up to a standard. And having played the M44, I can see what they mean, because I hated it. I think it's the most inaccurate thing I've ever played. Inaccurate, I should say. MX 5100 coming out from DeNova as their last pick. Looks like YR, that usually the team captain, he's actually the team captain, is not going to be playing. He wasn't playing in the previous game, which is quite strange, because I thought he would play the T69 as he does it so well. But yeah, Stalker picking the WZ132, reminiscent of an earlier Dragonborns. Obviously didn't work out too well for them, but you know, probably not down to the tank, but the team.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, the fairly normal picks coming out, bar the artillery that's a bit of a curveball. We're going to have to wait and see how that one plays out, really, here. I'm looking forward to this. This is the first time I'm going to see it played and it not be over within 30 seconds, hopefully. The last time we saw artillery being picked, it was over before it started. So we're going to have to see if that really can come into play. And it's all eyes on Winnie the Pooh right now more than anything. He's got a lot of pressure kind of on his shoulders at the moment to perform with this.
Yeah, not only because the league, but also to every single player watching this who likes artillery, they'll be saying, please, Winnie the Pooh, prove its usefulness in 8.6 so I can continue playing it with pride in random battles. But yeah, looks like both teams are ready. Last minute checks going, and we will be going into our next map, Prokhorovka. Yeah, DeNova versus Dignitas, 2-1 to Dignitas, taking Himmelsdorf quite well after a failed push by DeNova for sure. But now we get to see if Winnie the Pooh can live up to all expectations on Prokhorovka, as DeNova pushing towards the village side, towards the hillside. Quite strange, actually. Usually see teams from the north going more towards where their T1 Delgado is going, which is obviously towards the road/green area. What are the opposite team Dignitas doing? Because it will be interesting to see if this actually works out for them.
This could be a big exchange down mid if this goes the way I expect. Ron has already kind of been spotted in that light tank whipping around the map. That T2 light has been kind of spotted. The T69s have pushed up. The MX1390 makes its way up that 7 and 8 line. And now they're just going to kind of hunker down here right in the center of the map, allowing the rest of the team to make their way up that 1 and 2 line to try and get this locked down. But there's already damage being received, and I don't think Pavel even really knew where that came from right then.
No, that was definitely from Winnie the Pooh connecting his first shell well, actually. Ron pushing forwards a little bit more. We see him darting around the map, as you said, through the village. He didn't play it too well last time. Delgado connects, picks up his first spot onto Garat in his that he spotted because he will have Sixth Sense, that spotting crew skill. But Delgado doesn't want to give his position away, and that's why we see the Hive trying to connect the shells. But Delgado finally having to make the decision to do it. Garat going down low, but no, Garat won't go down, and that's bad news for DeNova.
Yeah, indeed. That early connection of that shell, as you said, that artillery that came down onto Pavel looked like, oh, this could be dangerous. But still, Dignitas keeping the advantage here. Quickly evened up, though, as Garrett has been taken down in that T1. We kind of expected him to go down, but not in that fashion. So a bit of an exchange, but not too much. And to be fair, Team Dignitas have not seen that much of the opposition, only really seeing that T2 light at the very start.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see if that comes into play. Positive pushing towards the village. We see Winnie the Pooh has changed position onto the small island. We see this quite often in random battles, obviously not so far forwards. But it's a decent position as long as we don't see Dignitas push onto the hill, perhaps with a 1-3-2, which just has a decent view range. In fact, pretty much every tank apart from the T1 has a good view range, capable of spotting. But another shell actually being connected by Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Pavel's in trouble. He was tracked right there. He's taken down to only 677 HP. He's going to have to back out of this situation right now. The mid presence surely cannot be held, as we do see Applewell actually capturing a glimpse of all of the players now. He knows exactly where these guys are. Going to position up and look down, and he knows Winnie the Pooh, Ron, and Positive all been spotted, all been called out, and let's see how the hell Dignitas can get themselves back into this. The damage has been truly dealt to them. They're not looking that great at the moment, but Ostap Bender has received a shell there, so knocked down to 842. And Applewell looking like he's going to go for a shot here, and he has connected that nicely. 597, I think, is the remaining health upon him.
Yeah, Ostap Bender pushing a little bit far forwards now. Shanish pushing in now onto Cripple in his AMX 1390. No, he's not. He's going for the other side. He does know Applewell was there. Applewell connecting, getting connected even by, I believe that was a T69. Winnie the Pooh missing his shell, actually, as we see a cap actually coming out from Team Dignitas.
Yeah, indeed. While the exchange was going down with Applewell, the rest of the side had pushed all the way far forward. That T1, the MX 1390, all clearly being very present within the opposition base, now making the aggressive push towards one of the players actually already taking damage, but nevertheless they have connected a great deal of work upon a good couple of their players who are now looking, it's really switched again. I thought Dignitas would have had the advantage, but now look, they actually are. They're putting their stamp of authority on it. Shash picking up frags. It's all going their way right now. And I think they can take it further. The Dream is laying down some good connection, and there we go. Picks up the frag there and the kill onto that 1390. The AMX 1390 is down and out.
Yeah, well, these 269s are reloading, so Ostap will be able to pick himself up a frag. At least one. No, he doesn't. As Shanish comes in to save the day. Shanish missing his shell, actually. So, no, Ostap doesn't actually manage to take down any shells. Ron being the only guy left. GG's going out from Dignitas. And I think the problem there for DeNova was, as we just see Applewell come flying over the hill in Runes-esque style, killing himself. So GG Applewell, hero of the day. Not quite Superman, though. Forgetting that physics exist. Ron going to kill himself. But yeah, I think the problem for DeNova then was maybe their tactic would have worked against a lesser team. But against Team Dignitas, which just thought, okay, let's just push from the back instead of pushing from the front, because that's obviously not working. It was impossible to win, I think.
And that, to be fair, is probably that is the worst result that DeNova, XMYM have had against Team Dignitas.
It is.
So everyone who questions, how they, were going on, have they retained that strength, have they been able to kind of keep up to that standard that they showed before, I think you're kind of getting your answer right now, because clearly they have improved upon, the previous season already by, keeping that standard, already upping their previous results. Yeah,
I think they're even a better team than we saw last season. Probably like close to what we saw in the finals, actually, in the semi-finals. Yep. So definitely improving. More in player skill, I think, than tactics. I think Synergy's problem, now Team Dignitas' problem, was always player skill. They had some good players, but they weren't quite as good as Virtus Pro. But now they're on par or even better. So just working out perfectly for them. A great team.
Yeah, so we've had some really defining games so far, but before we close out, let's have a little look at your thoughts towards how the games have been going. Were you guys right? Did you call it right? Maybe yes, maybe no. He certainly didn't. So, let's find out your thoughts so far.
Hoda.
Is that the only thoughts we've had?
Hoda.
Oh, God.
I was told this Hoda guy, all he says is Hoda. Is that right?
Yep.
So I thought, yeah, well, I'm gonna just jump on this train, but no. Yeah, thoughts of the players. Sorry for that. Team Dignitas was obviously the most voted team with, let me just work that one out, 80%. So kind of convincing. We have results 3-1 for Dignitas. So many votes were correct. It's going to be, well, no, they actually just posted like a minute ago. So no, you won't get a code if you just posted a minute ago. Yeah, well, we got some early on who's like, I think the most voted result was 3-1. So the community was right. They knew what's going on. I can't remember what you predicted.
No, that.
She went for Dignitas. I went for DeNova.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that you're wrong.
Wow.
Wow.
Because basically, women are always right.
That's what we'll learn here today.
So even if you would have picked the right one, still she would have been right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it would have been his fault as well.
Yeah, because that's the way life is. Women are always right, and it's always the men's fault. That simple. But not just women are always right. We had some good community feedback here as well. We got some cool artwork going on as well. We had some nice drawn tanks. But I'll try to collect all the tanks that we had throughout all the last season as well and put them in an album on, oh God, on Facebook. And there's also another picture of what people shouldn't be showing. I didn't know this computer's connected.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know this computer was, like, the computer that picture's on.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that was connected to the network, otherwise I would have closed that picture. But somebody done this nice artwork. And I have to say, that young lad in the dress, he's looking amazing.
Dashing fellow, isn't he? Who's that?
Man.
Oh, wow, we're getting a full-on... Whoever went to that detail
You should go to Thailand, man. That's pretty impressive.
There's a career in waiting, is all I'm saying. But, all hail to... Should we just move over Melly? Right?
We don't need that Melly anymore.
Exactly.
You got the social media queen here. Why do you need Melly? Yeah, we're talking about social media. Even though after the show, you still can go onto Twitter, onto Facebook. WoTProLeague.com is also a website, but WoT Pro League is the Twitter and Facebook link. Just follow us. Tell us what you think about us, what you think about the show, what you think about the games. Always stay tuned. We always update stuff. We'll update results. We'll update. We'll tell you when the stream's going live. All kinds of stuff. So it's really worth following. And also on top of that, follow Pansy, follow Ollie, follow me if you want to. Hoda. I'm going to change it
Don't follow them.
I'm going to change it to @holder, but no, at the moment it's still at SNE91. But before we close the show, we're still going to go back over to the casters because you have something to say, I guess.
Indeed. So all I'm going to say is, guys, as he said, make sure you check out the website because the scores will be updated and you can see exactly how this is panning out because we've seen some very specific games. But there's going to be upsets all over the place. Now, I wish we could show you every single one because every game really does matter. So we are just going to have to keep eyes on that and make sure you check out the WoTProLeague.com. As we said, you know, he highlighted it, you know, old Hodor in the corner. You know, when he's not carrying people around on his shoulders, he does come in and do a little bit of social media for us. But hopefully Melly will be back soon. We do miss Melly. You know, deep down, it's not the same without her.
I haven't met her yet, so...
You've never met Melly?
I have not met Melly.
Ladies and gents in chat, let them know how much, you know, you guys love Melly as well, because obviously she can't be with us at the moment. I think she's just doing studying and general real-life stuff. That's just not cool. But anyway, back on topic, make sure you check out the website, because all the results will be going up, so it's worth keeping your eyes on, because we'll be having more games coming up on the 1st of the 7th, I believe, so it's not a big break. So these guys are going to have to keep warmed up and obviously keep playing, because... changes are happening everywhere. We've had upsets left, right, and centre at the moment. Indeed,
and if you want to get involved, we have got WoT playing as normal this Sunday, starting from 1500 CEST. If you want to just play some tanks, €400 at stake for first prize. So just get involved, play a bit, see if you like it, and you might see yourself as one of these top teams competing for €100,000 grand prize money this time round at Gamescom.